Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. So, in last class we discussed that why we again are discussing everything about all those things Vedanta in details. That is it not sufficient if I do as I am told? Actually, faith, doubtlessness is a great and mighty merits of the seeker. But sometimes, blind faith born out of fear and thriving in ignorance is a chain of slavery. Many times in our family, some calamities happened or anything else. Then we can understand that our faith and belief system is so shaky. And if there is chain of calamities, sometimes we lose faith in God. Sometimes we doubt whether He is or not. So when we will know the reality of God, the reality of my own self, the reality of the entire universe, then it's verily possible to keep up our bhakti, our devotion, our belief system, our trust. Then we know who is God. Today, we will discuss more details. Okay. As I discussed once, that Vedanta in a nutshell, this small series, it's like Vedanta in one wrap, small wrap. So while describing the spiritual-physical structure of a man, in last class we have discussed that. So we went into the details of the 5 different sheaths. I think you can remember. Panchakosha, that Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. Kosha means sheath. So they are also for convenience of study divided into 3 bodies. We are having 3 bodies. Who are they? That physical body. This is called gross body. Okay. The inside by which we can speak, we can think, we can feel is sati body. And the cause of the 2 bodies are called causal body. Clear? The Annamaya Kosha or the food sheath constitutes the gross body. While the vital air, prana, mental and the intellectual sheaths means Manomaya and Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. Vital air sheath, mental sheath, and intellectual sheaths together constitute our subtle body. And the bliss sheath is called the causal body. Clear? So, of these, it is the subtle body that is the instrument for all sadhakas, all spiritual seekers in obtaining self perfection. All religions aim at the integration of the subtle body, and every ritual is an exercise in strengthening and shaping the fibers of the subtle body. Clear? So, in order that we may come to understand the scientific implication of this plane, we must have an intimate knowledge of the structure and nature of the subtle body. In Vedanta, mind and intellect are often considered as one whole because the stuff remaining the same when we are in a doubt state of confusion, sankalpa and vikalpa. Should I do it or I shouldn't? Should I take it or I shouldn't? Should I tell it or I should? This sort of dilemma in our mind or dilemma in our mind, then we are in the mental sheath. And when we, with the reference to our previous experiences and knowledge, come to our firm determination and a definite judgment, nishchayatmika buddhi, we are said to be in the intellectual sheath. So मन का काम ही है हम लोगों को डाउट में डालना. This is the mind's job to give us always doubtfulness, ये करूं या ये ना करूं, ये करूं, ये खाऊं या ना खाऊं. डॉक्टर ने मना किया है मिठाई लेने के लिए, लेकिन मेरी इच्छा कर रहा है. ये तो ज्यादा मिठाई नहीं, it's not too much sweet. अच्छा, sugar free sweet is there. We search sometime in the sweet shop. So yes, one person brought some sweets, told Swamiji, this sweet is free from sugar. I don't know, is it free from sweetness or not? No, 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 sweetness is there. So, this is our bottom line. The person who likes gulab jamun, rasgulla, sandesh, actually the bottom line is that person likes sweetness. Just think. They are the varieties of the thing, but the bottom line of this liking is sweetness. And our mind's job is only to make us, should I do or should I not? In that time, intellect, no, I have seen these things. That diabetes is the silent killer, so I should not take it. Finish. So if thus the mind is the very substance of the subtle body, a complete knowledge of the nature of the mind would be complete knowledge of the subtle body. Clear? So you all know that there is a mind working in you. You often say, or we often say, my mind is totally confused. Sometimes we say or not. Or my mind is agitated, or my mind is bad, and so on. But have you ever thought, what is that mind? Now I want you all to leave your passive habit of merely listening to what the speaker says and think independently for yourself. This, in fact, is a supreme kind of meditation also. Meditation is a prakriya, na? Process. So what is the mind? Thoughts cannot be the mind because the quality, nature, and identity of our thoughts never remain the same, although we feel that our mind is ever the same. We feel that. After 30 years, when we meet anyone else, we refer ourselves. See, as you saw me 30 years back, I am the same, like or not. I'm the same naughty or same polite or same loving. We love to consider that our mind is same, isn't it? So the thing is, if thoughts were the mind, it would have changed as often as our thoughts. If you tell that thought is the mind, then constantly thoughts are getting changed. So logically, if you put the logic, then mind is also getting changed, isn't it? So the thing is, nor can mind be desired, because desire has no existence apart from thoughts. Isn't it? You know, Sangat Sanjayate Kama. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan is telling. So from Sanga to Kama, means Kamana, desire, there are several thoughts. We think of it. Then our desire comes, na? So our scripture are much more direct. For their crystalline clarity of expression, completeness of exposition, thoroughness of explanation, no scientific literature in the world has yet come to complete with the perfections in these lines gained by our Vedic literature in the hands of rishis. So according to our scripture, according to our Vedic literature, thought is but a manifestation of the mind. Thought is just a manifestation of our mind. But the mind itself is a delusory, nothing seemingly you know, conspicuous A delusion is something created when thoughts flow. Very beautiful example is there. Suppose if you take the example of a river. What is river? The river is not water. Think of it. The river is not water, nor it is water with two banks. If there is two banks and river, we don't say it river. So what is river? A river is there where waters flow. The flowing is the essence of the river. गंगा तो प्रवाह की नाम है. Which water? The same Ganga you are dipping your one leg, another leg one you are dipping, it's not the same. Ganga is the name of the flow. Okay. So similarly, thoughts are not the mind, but thoughts flowing one after another is an unbroken continuity, create a delusory something called the mind. Clear? Again, I'm telling. So what is mind? Thoughts are not the mind. But when thoughts flowing one after another in an unbroken continuity create a delusory something which is called the mind. And this mind threatens us. It's better to say even governs us, governs over us, persecuting us with its low demands, animal instincts, and vicious urges, or at some moments with its higher demands of divine calls and spiritual urges too. Clear? So, if we discuss about the cultivation of the mind, we can see to control and develop this mind and bring it within our hold is the secret of all personality development. He who is a master of his mind is a master of the world. He who is a master of his mind is a master of the world. Mastery over the situation in life without a mastery over the mind would be a vain dream. And this is the great secret of the failure of man today. As individuals, or communities, or nations in the world. In short, the tragedy of man is the tragedy of the condition of his mind. Just think. Tragedy of a man is the tragedy of the condition of his mind. The blast of the atom bomb that has hurled in the Pacific recently or before some years is but the softest echo of a mightier blast that has happened in the inner world of man. All religions in the world prescribe for every aspirant a complete scientific process by which the shattered human mind, destroying itself today under the radiation of its own low values, can be cured and nursed back to a healthy and vital existence. Mental control means the control of the thought flow. Clear? And say, mind control, mind control. What is mind control? Mind control means the controlling of the thought flow, the flow of the thought. When thoughts are least agitating in us, we are in the maximum state of happiness. Clear? The more the stormy flood of gushing thoughts, the more disturbed the mind becomes, and naturally the individual is plunged in a painful state of agitation. Calm the mind through a process of stilling its thoughts. But unfortunately, this is not easy for us because of the working of what are technically called in Vedanta as the knots of the heart, Hridaya Granthi. Bhiddate Hridaya Granthi. Chiddante Sarva Samsayaha. Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Paravare. Upanishad says. So I can see your eyes building, bulging out, and your brows arching up into a question mark. You seem to say, "Oh Swami, in our world we have cut open and examined millions of hearts, and never have we seen anywhere at any time any knots in them, as your old scripture says. Only some veins, arteries, they may be thickened out of the cholesterol, but there is no knot, as your Shastra says. Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. Your question may be. Also, we have enough scientific knowledge to realize that if there be even a single knot in the heart will not function anymore. Yes, my dear, you're absolutely right. But why quarrel with the style of a particular language or the word meaning of the terms used? The rishis who knew the diameter of the sun thousand years back, when they knew the distance between sun and the moon, sun and the earth, They knew the signs of the eclipse, solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. Are they crazy fellow that they are writing Hridaya Granthi, knots in the heart? Do you think so? When the rishis or sages of old use the term knots of the heart, they did not mean to contradict nature. The term means that there is a triple forked process which binds humanity to the lower realms of discord and unhappiness. These three knots are constituted of avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, kama, karma. Ignorance, desire, and desire prompted action. So how that heart disease will be cured? If only man were fully aware of his all perfect, omnipotent, omniscient nature, that I am that Brahman. But he is ignorant of his real spiritual identity. Means Jagat Brahman hai. But he is ignorant of his own real spiritual identity, and because of his ignorance, he feels himself imperfect. Kudrashmi. I am poor guy. What can I do? Our power is limited, Swamiji, you know, our strength is limited. And they are listening to the Vedanta since last 30, 40 years. Million times they have heard Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. Million times than Svetaketu. Maximum Upanishads they have ratified, means memorize. Ratna मतलब हिंदी में बांग्लाয় मुखস্থ করাকে হিন্দিতে বলে रट लिया. So that's English is ratified. The revolt against this sense of imperfection manifests itself as desires in the mental zone. Desires throw open the volcanic peaks of the mind and they erupt to throw out the scorching lava of thought currents. Without a desire behind it, no thought can rise. वासना ही कामना की जड़ है. None of you, I'm sure, is thinking now either of a wheelbarrow or the national flag, but some of you may be thinking of a fan because in this sweltering heat, you may have the desire to have an AC machine or fan for yourself. Without desire, no thoughts can rise up. A thought current means a desire behind it. And when a desire gets fully established in the mind, in the onward flow of thoughts generated by it, the very desire in self-expression manifests as our actions in the outer world. Hari Om Tat Sat.